What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Sean O'Malley reveals timeline for UFC return. In the opening moments of the Noche UFC main event over the weekend, Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley's coach, Tim Welsh, were involved in a verbal exchange that saw referee Herb Dean momentarily pause the fight. While there had been some confusion as to what happened there, Welsh spoke about the situation in a video for his YouTube channel on Monday, sharing his side of the story.
First round comes out. What I said to Merab was, Merab, you need to be patient. And that's when he freaked out. He started bucking himself around. I was like, holy cow. I just said, Merab, be patient. He must have been anticipating that a little bit, but I really wasn't going out of my way to blah, 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 yell. But I did say that. I guess there is an excessive coaching, but I told Herb Dean, I said, some of our call outs have Merab's name in it. And he said, nope. But I was surprised how much he freaked out. Like he let his emotions freaking get to him in there, but didn't do anything. Didn't matter one bit. Like I said, we knew how good that guy was.
Merab Dvalishvili also opened up on the situation during the post-fight presser, where he explained to media members, I'm fighting, I'm a professional fighter, I'm focused, and it never happened to me. I never pay attention to the other corner. But of course, Tim's voice, it was very familiar because he was doing the same thing to Aljo. There's the video on social media. Everybody, we saw it. And he was doing same thing. He was doing very respectful way. Merab, you gotta go. He was talking ish on me, and I tell him to stop it, and nobody was yelling him to stop. He was just keep doing this. If you do this same thing in basketball or soccer, they will do disqualification for you. But I guess here, no. And that's why I tell referee, I'm sorry. While Sugar lost a unanimous decision, on Monday, he took to social media, revealing that after re-watching the fight, he felt as though he won 2 of the last 3 rounds. He wrote, quote, Sugar State Athletic Commission breaking news. Sugar won 2 of the last 3 rounds. Fight overturned. Sugar won. Sean O'Malley later went on his podcast with Tim Welsh and reacted to his loss at UFC 306.
I know I could beat him. That's the thing, but that's what it is. It's like I am undefeated in rematches. Well, I mean, like I probably won't fight till for 9 months, 10 months, maybe a year. Like it's gonna be a while. People are gonna have to watch the UFC without the Sugar Show for a little bit, but.
Many people in the MMA community are concerned with Sean O'Malley's decision, and they think he's making a huge mistake. One member reacted by saying, big mistake, especially because he didn't take any damage. If you think the fans are dumping on him now, just wait till his name starts to fade from their memory. MMA fans are extremely fickle. If you ain't fighting and winning, they move on. Mentally weak, bro. I thought these fighters are supposed to be tough. Dragging out his fame, following the Conor playbook to the T. Probably has injuries he doesn't want to say out loud, but either way, the inactivity isn't going to be good for him in my opinion. Weird move. Dude took 1 loss in his 20s and is taking a year off his prime now. He already has been semi-inactive. This definitely won't help him. One member even called out the UFC by saying, UFC rewards this behavior though. The fighters that fight often get harder fights. What do you guys think about all this? Do you think it's wise for Sean O'Malley to take 9 to 10 months off to recover from this loss? Let us know in the comment section below. Max Holloway fires back at the MMA community. After seeing Ilia Topuria's dominant victory over Alexander Volkanovski, the MMA community appears to be backing the champion heading into his upcoming UFC 308 fight with Max Holloway. Currently on FanDuel, Topuria is a comfortable -205 favorite, while Holloway is a +158 underdog. The way Holloway sees things, this isn't the first time he's been counted out by fans going into a bout. During a recent interview with ESPN's Brett Okamoto, he spoke about the doubters heading into his UFC 300 fight with Justin Gaethje. Before going into UFC 300, all we had to do, even after the Volk 3 fight, was just keep winning. The word I kept telling you before was undeniable. Be undeniable is all we had to do. A lot of people laughed at me. A lot of people told me I shouldn't change weight. A lot of people told me I should have retired after that 3rd Volk fight. But I knew how good I was. I knew what I had to do. I'm not scared of hard work. Like I said, you guys know my story. I fought a who's who on my way to my first title shot. And I got my first title shot by accident. You know, shout out to DC and sneezing and blowing his back out for that one fight. So at the end of the day, things happen for a reason. With less than 6 weeks to go until fight night, only time will tell whether Holloway is able to reclaim gold or whether Ilia Topuria manages to become the first fighter to crack Holloway's legendary chin. Islam Makhachev reacts to Merab Dvalishvili comments. In the wake of Merab Dvalishvili's win over Sean O'Malley, talk quickly shifted to Umar Nurmagomedov, who's believed to be the next man up for a crack at the bantamweight title. While Dvalishvili would prefer a fight with Davison Figueiredo rather than Nurmagomedov, the undefeated contender's recent victory over Corey Sandhagen has him on the cusp of a title shot. While discussing the contender with media members after the bout, Dvalishvili questioned why Nurmagomedov represents Russia when in fact he's from Dagestan. During his post-fight press conference, Dvalishvili said, quote, Umar actually not from Russia, he's from Dagestan, but he still represents Russia flag. Red Corner MMA then caught up with Islam Makhachev and asked him for his take on the newly minted champ's comments. In response, Makhachev said, quote, "He lives in the US. He has no clue what he's talking about. Dagestan is part of Russia. He's just playing mind games, but I think Umar will answer all those questions in the cage." Although Nurmagomedov is expecting the next title shot, Dvalishvili believes that a fight between him and Petr Yan would make sense while he defends his title against Deiveson Figueiredo. Despite that, according to AKA head coach Javier Mendez, who spoke on Submission Radio on Monday, the UFC is actively working to put together a fight between Dvalishvili and Nurmagomedov for the champ's first title defense. Speaking about Umar, he went on Twitter to take shots at Merab. When Merab's friend Topuria fought for the title after 6 consecutive wins and beating only one top 5 ranked opponent, Josh Emmett, I don't remember that Merab was desperately protesting against such unfairness. Do you guys want to see Merab Dvalishvili fight Umar Nurmagomedov next? Let us know down in the comment section. Let's move on to Jon Jones talks about retiring after Stipe Miocic fight. Last week, the UFC announced the long-awaited fight between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic as the UFC 309 headliner. While the MMA community had been expecting the bout to headline the November 16th card at Madison Square Garden, the bout had not been officially confirmed. On the heels of the announcement, Combat Sports page Clocked and Loaded caught up with Jon Jones, who was in attendance in Saturday's Noche UFC event at the Sphere, to discuss the fight, as well as his future in the sport. While fans have been calling for a fight between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, the champion confirmed that UFC 309 will likely be the last times fans see him inside the octagon. As he explained, quote, "It's gonna be the last time. Gonna be the last time, more than likely." Although a fairy tale ending at Madison Square Garden has long been believed to be the target for Jones' final fight, many fans are still holding out hope that if Jones wins, he'll stick around for one more fight to unify the title against Tom Aspinall. In the event that Jon Jones does in fact ride off into the sunset and retire after the fight, the expectation is that Tom Aspinall, who will weigh in as the backup fighter and be in attendance, will wind up getting promoted to undisputed champion. Team Khabib wants UFC 306 judges fired for Sean O'Malley fight. Saturday's main event saw Merab Dvalishvili secure UFC gold via unanimous decision. However, in the wake of the fight, 2 judges' scorecards have drawn criticism. While Judge Mike Bell scored the bout 49-46 in favor of Dvalishvili, Sal D'Amato and Chris Lee both scored the fight 48-47 for the machine, giving 2 of the 3 rounds to Sean O'Malley. The way Javier Mendez, who coaches Umar Nurmagomedov, sees things, both D'Amato and Lee should be fired. He spoke on the latest episode of his Javier Mendez podcast about the situation.
The last round was maybe you can give it to Sean,
Barely.
but maybe you can. That's the one justified. But the 48, 47, 2 scores on the judges, I got to tell you, they should be fired. Like, he clearly dominated. To me, he dominated all 5 rounds, to me. If I was going to give it one, I would give him the 5th round.
In the past, both Lee and D'Amato have come under fire for their scoring of fights. For example, back in 2020, Chris Lee scored the Paul Felder-Rafael Dos Anjos fight 48-47 in favor of Felder, while the other 2 judges scored the fight 50-45 in favor of RDA. Similarly, back in 2022, Sal D'Amato scored the UFC Vegas 47 headliner at the Apex 3 rounds to 2 in favor of Jack Hermanson, while the other 2 judges scored the fight 4 rounds to 1 in favor of Sean Strickland. As many fans have pointed out, however, neither has faced repercussions for their controversial scoring of fights. TKO president talks about UFC lawsuit. Last week, leading up to the historic Noche UFC 306 card at the Sphere, TKO Group Holdings president and chief operating officer Mark Shapiro spoke about the ongoing antitrust lawsuits the UFC is involved in. While speaking at the Goldman Sachs Communacopia and Technology Conference, as relayed by MMA Fighting, Shapiro went on record, calling Judge Richard Boulware's decision to veto a settlement agreement ridiculous. Although the UFC and the 2 groups of fighters that are part of the Lee v. Zuffa and Johnson v. Zuffa suits reached a settlement agreement, Judge Boulware felt as though the agreement wasn't enough, striking it down and sending the 2 sides back to the negotiating table. Based on Shapiro's comments, the UFC is unlikely to offer a larger settlement payout and is willing to go to trial if need be. As he explained, quote, "Anyone that is a student of our business that has closely followed this story knows what's going on is just ridiculous. We spend a lot more than anybody thought we were going to spend, what our board wanted us to spend, and we even thought was frankly appropriate when it came to the 2 cases before us. But nonetheless, to take it off the table, we reached a deal. And we're on our way, and then the judge doesn't even grant preliminary approval. This is kind of absurd what's happened. Nobody is on board with it. The plaintiffs want the money, and the sport and the competition will be better for it. All this is doing is lining the pockets of more lawyers. According to Damon Martin of MMA Fighting, Shapiro also filed a transaction with the Securities and Exchange Commission to sell 60,000 shares of TKO Group Holding stock, believed to be worth just over $7 million, although Martin wrote that the transaction is not related to the lawsuits. Alex Pereira preparing for UFC 307 fight. Leading up to his scheduled October 5th title defense against Khalil Rountree, Alex Pereira has already arrived in Salt Lake City. With nearly 3 full weeks to prepare, the hope seems to be that Pereira will be able to acclimate to the change in altitude, which we've seen plague fighters fighting in Utah in the past. In a post on his Instagram story on Monday, Pereira informed fans that he's already in Salt Lake City preparing for the bout along with Glover Teixeira and the rest of his team. Over the next few weeks, Pereira will be training at The Pit, a gym founded by former Ultimate Fighter Season 13 finalist Ramsey Nijem. Leading up to the fight, the champion is currently a heavy betting favorite on major US sportsbooks, including FanDuel, where he's a negative 520 favorite. On the other hand, Khalil Rountree, who's riding a 5-fight winning streak into the bout, is a plus 350 underdog. Sean O'Malley sends a warning to Merab Dvalishvili after Merab said that he has no interest in fighting Umar Nurmagomedov next and instead would want to fight Deiveson Figueiredo. Sean advises Merab to not go against the UFC like Aljo. Here's what Sean had to say.
Like, bro, do you not learn from your Aljo? Like, you're not like, you're not gonna come out and say I'm not fighting Umar. You're the champ. Was supposedly the next guy. It's like, what do you? If I'm gonna give him any advice, it's just don't go against what the UFC wants. The UFC wants you to fight Umar. Fight Umar. Don't say I'm not gonna fight Umar. It's like then you're not gonna have a good relationship with the UFC. I mean, is it a bad matchup for Umar? I mean, for Merab, maybe. I mean, that sucked. That sucked.
Sean O'Malley also revealed some sad news and told Aiden Ross that he will be undergoing surgery for a torn labrum after his fight with Merab. Here's what he had to say.
I have surgery on October 3rd. I tore my labrum 10 weeks ago. It's a little, you have a labrum in both your shoulders and in your hips. I tore the left labrum in my hip. So I got surgery. That's the only reason I'm going to be out for so long. The surgery should only take like 2 months to come back from. Then it'll take, a couple months recovery. So a year's a long time. Could be 6 to 8 months. But I'm just kind of going with the flow. You never know. Pull up. I'll be chilling, but man, just UFC won't be the same without me.
Dana White leaks text message sent to his head of production after UFC Noche. According to Dana, everyone is praising Noche and thankful to the UFC for honoring Mexico for this special event. The text said, "Can't stop thinking about Noche UFC. It was very meaningful to me because there are not many instances when the Mexican culture and people are paid tribute and portrayed in such an elevated and respectful way. It was a beautifully executed production of sport, art, entertainment, and education that I've never seen done anywhere, ever. So proud of you and grateful to the UFC, recognizing the beauty and contributions of Mexico." Dana said in the caption, "I've been getting texts non-stop since Saturday and people walking up to me in the street saying amazing things about Noche UFC. Today, a family from Mexico approached me at the airport and literally made my day with all the things they said about them flying here to see the show. This text was sent to Craig Borsari, our head of production, and I had to post it. Thank you everyone. I'm glad the Mexican people love the tribute on Mexican Independence Day." Top comments. Imagine if Jones lost to Stipe. Dana's gonna have green spots on his brain. I think he's not sleeping well with Bilal and Merab having the belts. Imagine Alex Pereira doing oblique kicks and spinning elbows or standing chokes. That would be scary. Pereira should stop worrying about Drakus' weight cut, start worrying about his coach's weight cut. Pereira needs a better translator, as DDP has made it as clear as can be to wait and he will move up, or he and Strickland can fight between themselves as to who's next. This is hard for fans of both, as DDP is clearly not how Poatan is describing him. Sad.